Out of the Dust, adapted for stage from the novel by Karen Hess. During the 1930s, there were great dust storms in Oklahoma. The weather threw out so much dust that at times there was zero visibility and everything was blanketed in dirt. It didn't matter how much the Oklahomans tried to seal their homes. Dust storms were the result of drought in the land that had been overused. By 1934, the Great Plains were turned into a desert that became known as the Great Dust Bowl. In Oklahoma, the Panhandle area was hit hardest by the drought. It all but crippled the farmers. Even when, in 1935, the government developed conservation programs to improve the condition by changing farming methods. The Dust Bowl lasted about a decade, contributing to the length of the Depression of the 30s.
Karen Hess writes historical fiction. Out of the Dust is set in the Oklahoma Panhandle from January 1934 to December 1935. She was awarded the Newbery Medal for this novel. In her acceptance speech, she says that she was told that she should not write historical fiction, that there was no market for it. I didn't listen, she said. I love research, love dipping into another time and place and asking the tough questions, which helps me see both question and answer with a clearer perspective. We are glad she did, and we are proud to present the select stage adaptation of excerpts from this award-winning book. May it connect us with what it means to be essentially human at this time, at all times. We all have our stories. This one belongs to Billy Joe Kelby. Thank you for attending our presentation.
Losing Livy, January 1934. Livy Killian moved away. I didn't want her to go. We had been best friends since the first grade. Her farewell party was Thursday night at the Old Rock Schoolhouse. Livy had something to say about each of us, like Ray sleeping through reading class. But she said goodbye to each of us, separately. She gave me a picture she'd made of me, sitting at the piano with my straw hat and an apple halfway to my mouth. I couldn't get the muscles in my throat relaxed enough to tell her how much I'd miss her. Livy stayed and helped clean up her own party, wiping up spilled lemonade, sweeping up cookie crumbs, while the rest of us went home to study for semester reviews. Now, Livy's gone west, out of the dust, on her way to California where the wind takes a rest. Sometimes. And I'm wondering what kind of friend I am, wanting my feet on that road instead of Livy's.
Debts, March 1934. Daddy is thinking of taking a loan from Mr. Roosevelt and his men to get some new wheat planted when a winter crop is spindled out and died. Mr. Roosevelt promises Daddy won't have to pay a dime till the crop comes in. Daddy says,
I can turn the fields over and start again. Sure to rain soon. Wheat sure to grow.
Ma says.
What if it doesn't?
Daddy takes off his hat, roughs up his hair, puts the hat back on.
Of course it'll rain.
He says, but Ma says.
Bay, it hasn't rained enough to grow wheat in 3 years.
Yeah, Daddy. Daddy looks like a fight brewing. He takes that red face out to the barn to keep from feuding with my pregnant Ma. And I ask her, Ma, how, after all this time, does Daddy still believe in rain?
Well, it rains enough,
Ma says.
Now and again to keep a person hoping. But even if it didn't, your daddy would have to believe.
Why?
It's coming on to spring and he's a farmer.
Fields of Flashing Lights, March 1934.
I heard the wind rise as I stumbled from my bed, down the stairs, out the front door, into the yard. I sensed it before I knew it was coming. I heard it, I smelled it, I tasted it. Dust! While Ma and Daddy slept, the dust came, tearing up the fields where the winter wheat stood helpless. It wasn't until the dust turned towards our house and hissed at the windows that Daddy woke up and ran to the storm. Daddy! I called to him. You can't stop the dust! Ma told me.
Cover the beds, Billy Joe. Push those scatter racks against those doors and wet those rugs over there and put them on the windows.
Wiping the dust out of everything, Ma made coffee and biscuits, waiting for Daddy to come in. But he didn't come back for hours. Not until the temperature dropped so low, it brought snow.
I was grateful, staring out at those dirty old flakes. But it didn't last long. The wind snatched that snow right off the field,
Leaving behind a sea of dust.
waves and waves and waves of dust rippling across our yard.
Daddy came in. He sat across from Ma and blew his nose. Mud streamed out. If he had cried, his tears would have been mud too. But he didn't cry. And neither did Ma.
On the Road with Arlie, June 1934. Here's how I figure it. My place in the world is at the piano. I'm earning a little money thanks to Arlie Wanderdale. He and his Black Mesa boys have connections in Keys and Goodwell and Texoma. Oh, and every little crowd is grateful to hear a rag or two played on the piano by a long-legged girl, even when the piano has a few keys soured by dust. At first, Ma stared me down, crossed her arms against her chest, and said I couldn't go.
But the money helped convince me, and Arlie and his wife, Vera, said they would watch her. So I said, okay, but only for the summer, and only if I don't hear her gripe about how tired she is, or see her dragging her back end around, and only if Vera really watches her, and I don't want to have to call you twice in the morning or find out that your farm chores are falling down. Arlie says,
Don't worry about it.
don't worry about it. He says,
Now, her piano playing is good.
I know.
She's got a set of songs with the word baby in the title, like, My Baby Just Cares for Me, and, Walking My Baby Back Home.
Gee, it's gray after being out late, walking my baby back home. Arm in arm over meadow and farm, walking my baby back home.
I picked those on purpose. For Ma. And the folks that come to hear Arlie's band, they like them fine.
I pay her in dimes. Dimes, and she gives the money to her mom, who just puts it away somewhere.
I don't know where. Saving it to send me to school in a few years. The money doesn't matter much to me.
Oh, heck, she played for nothing.
Because when I'm with Arlie's boys, we forget the dust.
Flying down the road in my car singing.
Laying our voice on top of the beat Miller Wright's playing at the back of Arlie's
with Vera up front chirping some crazy notes with no words.
Oh, and the sounds she makes just seem about
Amazing.
It's being part of Arlie's crowd I like so much.
She likes being on the road, being somewhere new and interesting. Can you blame her?
We have a fine time.
And they let me play the piano too.
Wild Boar of the Road, July 1934. A boy came by the house today. He asked Ma for food.
He couldn't pay, but I sat him down and I gave him milk and some biscuits. He offered to work for his food.
Ma sent him out to see Daddy.
He worked all afternoon. Wasn't more than 16? I don't know. Thin as a fence rail. I mean, I asked him if he wanted anything before he moved on. Bath, haircut. I don't know, maybe just a change of clothes.
The boy nodded. I never heard him say more than,
Yes, sir, or no, sir, or much obliged.
We watched him walk down the road in a pair of Daddy's old overalls. Legs like willow limbs, arms like reeds. Ma rested a hand on her heavy stomach and said,
His mother is worrying about him. His mother is wishing her boy would come home.
Lots of mothers wishing that these days. While their sons walk to California, where the rain comes. And the color green doesn't seem like such a miracle.
Yeah, well, someday I think I'm going to go there too. Through New Mexico and Arizona and Nevada. Someday I'll leave behind the wind and the dust and walk my way west to a place of green vines and promise.
The accident, July 1934. I got burned bad. Daddy put a pail of kerosene next to the stove, and Ma, fixing breakfast, thinking the pail was filled with water, lifted it to make Daddy's coffee. She poured it, but instead of making coffee, she made a rope of fire. It rose up from the stove and the kerosene burst into flames. Ma ran out the porch door screaming for Daddy, and I didn't know that Ma was coming back, so I grabbed that burning pail and threw it out the door, and the flaming oil splashed onto Ma's apron, and suddenly she was a column of fire. I pushed her to the ground to save her, to save the baby. I tried, beating out the flames with my hands. I did the best that I could, but it was no good. Ma got burned bad.
Devoured, August 1934. Doc Rice was tending to Ma, and he sent me outside to get water. The day was so hot. The house was so hot. As I came out the door, I saw the cloud descending, settling first over Daddy's wheat. Grasshoppers, eating leaves, tassels, and stalks, then coming closer to the house, to Ma's garden, the fence posts, the laundry on the line, and then the grasshoppers came right over me and Ma's apple trees. I climbed the trees, ow! Opening the scabs on my burnt hands, and I tried to beat them away. Go, just leave! But the grasshoppers ate everything. They ate every single piece of fruit hanging from Ma's trees. I couldn't tell her. No, I couldn't bring myself to say, Ma, your apples are gone. I never got
the chance. Ma died that day, giving birth to my brother.
I don't know my father anymore. He looks like my father. He drinks his coffee like my father. He brushes back his dusty hair like my father, but he's a stranger. I'm awkward with him and irritated, and I want to be alone. We're both changing. We're shifting to fill in the empty spaces left by Ma. I keep my raw and stinging hands behind my back when he comes near because he stares when he sees them.
Boxes, September 1934. In my closet, there are 2 boxes. The gatherings of my life. Papers, school drawings, a broken hairpin. Oh. It's a dress from my baby days. A doll with a china head. Ooh, a pink ball. A dozen marbles. And my baby teeth in a glass jar. Okay. There's also a torn map of the world. 2 candy wrappers, and 1,000 things I haven't looked at in years. I kept promising to go through the boxes with Ma and get rid of what I didn't need, but I never got to it, and now my hands hurt, and I haven't got the heart.
Real snow, November 1934. The dust stopped, and it snowed. Real snow, dreamy Christmas snow. Gentle, nothing blowing, such calm like after a fever. Wet, clinging to the earth, melting to the dirt. Snow over the grass and the wheat and the cattle and the rabbits. And now, my father will be happy.
December 1934, Vera Wanderdale was putting on a dance review at the palace, and Arlie asked,
Hey, Billy Joe, how about playing a number or two with the boys?
"It's hard coming on to Christmas, just me and my father with no ma and no little brother. I don't really feel like doing anything."
Oh, come on, Billy Joe, it'll be fun. I'll be dancing, and I need a piano player.
I don't know.
Come on.
I told him, "Okay, Arlie, I'll try." Just because it looked like it meant a lot to him. And Mad Dog would be singing, and he knew how I just love to be connected with anything Mad Dog's doing.
Oh, and Vera ordered costumes all the way from the city.
Really?
It's special, Billy Joe.
During rehearsals, Mad Dog would come off the stage during the rehearsals and stands by the piano. He doesn't look at me like some poor motherless thing. He doesn't stare at my deformed hands. He looks at me like I am someone he knows, someone named.
Billy Joe Kelby.
I'm grateful for that, considering how bad I'm playing.
Hope, May 1935. It started out as snow, big flakes floating softly, catching on my sweater.
Lacy on the edges of my sleeves, snow covered the dust, softened the fences, soothed the parched.
Lips of the land, and then it changed to sleet, glazing the earth.
until at last slipped into rain, light as mist.
It was the kindest of rain that fell, soft, and then a little heavier.
Steady as a good friend who walks beside you, not getting in your way.
Staying with you through a hard time, and because the rain came, thunder booming,
lightning kicking, dancing from the heavens.
Down to the prairie, and my father dancing with it. Dancing outside
in the drenching night, with the gutters racing and my father's near-finished pond filling.
When the rain stopped, my father splashed out to the barn to clean the dust out of his tractor until he got rain again. In the dark.
Headlights shining, he idled towards the freshened fields, certain the grass would grow again.
Certain the weeds would grow again.
Certain the wheat would grow again, too.
Out of the Dust, July 1935. This is not a dream. There is no comfort in dreams. I try to contain the ache as I leave my bed with my kerchief of dimes. I cross the kitchen, taking only some biscuits, and leave my father's house. It's the middle of the night. I go knowing I will die if I stay. I walk through the calm night, under the stars, to where the train stops long enough where I can latch on. And as my heart races, I feel the earth tremble beneath me, and the sound of metal against metal as the train pulls up to the station. Once, I might have headed east to Mr. Roosevelt. Now, I slip under the cover of darkness, inside a boxcar, and let the train carry me west, out of the dust.
The Other Woman, October 1935. Her name is Louise. Ugh. She stayed by Daddy the days I was away. The first time I met her, she came to dinner, bringing 2 baskets of food. She's a good cook, without showing off. The thing about Louise, well, I'll just have to watch how things go and hope she doesn't crowd me out of Daddy's life. Not now, when I'm just finding my way back into it. Thanksgiving list, November 1935. Prairie birds.
The whistle of gophers.
The wind blowing.
The smell of grass and spicy earth.
Friends, like Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Oh my God. The sky so big and so full of shifting
The
clouds.
cloud shadows creeping over the fields.
Daddy's smile! And his laugh.
And his songs.
Louise.
Food without dust.
Daddy singing to Ma's piano.
The days when my hands don't hurt at all.
The sound of rain.
The smell of green, of damp earth.
Of hope returning to our farm.
The poppy set to bloom on Ma and Franklin's grave.
The morning with the whole day waiting.
Full of promise.
The night.
Of quiet, of no expectations.
Of rest and the certainty of home. The one
I live in.
And the one that lives in me.